Okay, so we should be live on YouTube now. Thanks for monitoring the thing tower. Let me get myself sorted. Where do I need to be now? Oh my gosh. Just give me a moment, team. I've got myself in a right mess. I've got my PowerPoint doing automatic timings.
It's good to know it happens to all of us.
It seems to happen to me a lot.
And the wrong screen shared.
Right, apply to all. Let's try again. Okay, we should have my screen sharing any second now. Indeed, David. Good job. It's not a PowerPoint.
We can see it.
So welcome everybody. This is our first kind of online London Excel meetup for a while. I haven't counted the months, but it's been a while, distracted by various things such as Bulgaria and summer holidays and in-person meetups, and if life got a bit busy. But trying to get back on schedule if we can with the online stuff. We've got Adam with us today, going through some Power Query stuff. We're going to go some advanced data import and integration into Excel. I can see in the chat that Tay has just shared a link for the files that Adam will be using for his examples today. So if you want to jump on that as soon as you can, get those files downloaded, get them extracted, so they're ready for either following live or maybe to practice afterwards or in your own time. If I can move through these. This is a link, or it's not a link, it's an image, but there may be a link being shared to Adam's new book. Hence his presence here today. He's just written a book with BPB Publications on learning Power Query, and that is available. Links in the chat now. Yeah, not much more to say on that. There'll also be information about other books and courses that Adam provides. I mean, Adam has spoken at this meetup before, so some of you who've been members for a while may remember him from a few years ago. But back again, and within his files, there's also more information about Adam if you're interested. Yeah, just looking at the chat there. Moving on, we need to share these on YouTube. People on YouTube, I'll get the links in there as soon as I'm ready. Just going through some upcoming events though. So we still do have primarily in-person events going. I do need to get these online ones up to a similar schedule. It's just a lot going on, I guess. But for those of us who can make the event in London, obviously we are primarily a London meetup group. We have Faye, who's in the room with us now, and there's a link shared in the chat related to this event. We are doing an Excel Family Fortunes. I'm missing an S off my fortune there. Power Query Edition. So there's a link to a form in the chat at the moment. It's only one question. I mean, there's three, but two are optional. Just asking quite simply, what is your favorite Power Query feature? So please feel free just to vote on that. It's completely anonymous. You don't need to attend the event to voice your opinion, and feel free to share it with anyone so we can get loads of votes, and then it will make the game on the day and the results a little bit more entertaining and I guess a little bit more realistic as a vote. The more you get, I guess, the more certain that is the right outcome. Then we've got Lara and Lorenzo speaking in January about Excel sins and wins. This is all because they are both Excel esports competitors. I don't know if anyone in the room competes in Excel esports, but they both do. Lara and Lorenzo compete under the GB banner, which is a bit cheeky because Lorenzo has only been in the country for a few months now. And he was quickly adopted. And he's very good as well. But they're going to be speaking about, the kind of things you learn when you're doing competitive Excel, stuff that you learn that is really useful and practical in your day-to-day business, and stuff that you learn that's completely useless in the real world, but is great for competing in these events. So that's live in London as well. And then in March next year, We've got Melissa, who will be talking about some Power Query stuff, magic of records, and that will be in Amsterdam. So it's in person only again. Those of us familiar with the group will know that we try to move the group around Europe and try to do at least one event a year now, where we're somewhere else. And in March, we will be in Amsterdam if you can get there, or if you fancy a little weekend trip there. We normally try and schedule these on a Monday, as that one is. So people traveling in, or even if you're not traveling in, you get that weekend or that Friday night on top of the meetup, and you don't have to take so much time off work. It's a nice excuse to see, I guess, see another place, but also see Excel fans from another place as well. So hopefully we'll get a lot of locals coming in, and faces you'll recognise, faces you'll meet at that event. The other event to mention, I guess, will be the Global Excel Summit. Now look at that, there's another picture of Faye. She's just everywhere. On stage at or this year's summit. But we'll be there again in May, 19th, 20th of May. And via this group, we have our own coupon code, which is LEM15. You can see with that beautifully rounded rectangle shape on that screen there. 15% off with that coupon code. So this is a paid event. It's a huge kind of 2-day summit, loads of speakers. So it is a paid event, this one, rather than our free ones. But if you're interested, go check it out. There should be a link in the chat, or will be probably a few times through this session. And LEM15 will get you, so it's PowerPoint skills again. LEM15 will get you a 15% discount. And with that, I need to get these links into YouTube, and more importantly, pass over to Adam so we can do some Power Query business. So I'm going to stop my share, and Adam, if you're ready to rock, mate, if you can take over.
Okay, so I will share my screen. And just give me an answer. You can see my screen, yes?
Yes.
Yeah, my Excel. So first of all, if you unzip file, you should have 3 PDFs, 1 Excel, and 1 CSV file. And in an Excel file, you have some information about me. Worksheet is for Polish people. I have quite a few courses on the Udemy and some books, and ENG worksheet is about the thing I did till now in English. So 2 books, and we will be talking about learning Power Query book a bit, and just like Alan just sent already a link for the page. So if you like to find an ebook version, you can add this to the chart, and only at the checkout in BPP only just here is this discount code, and so learn PQ. So just on this main page, apply 10% discount for ebook version, and in here it isn't case sensitive instead, but Power Query, we have to remember Power Query is case sensitive. Okay, and you have this link also in this Excel file, and is also available, these books, on Amazon. And on the PDF worksheet, we have also the one table from PDFs, because import from PDFs is from Excel 2021, I think. I'm sure that in 2019 version, we don't have this in Power Query. So if you have an older Excel version, you can work with us with transformation with this table. And one more thing important about importing data today is regional settings. And in Excel, when we go to Data tab, Get Data, we have Query options here, and the bottom of this menu, Query options. And this file I have sent already should have regional settings set to English, United Kingdom. And it's a bit important because even in English local versions, regional settings are small differences with values. For example, with our data from PDFs, we have dollar signs, not pound signs, and that's why currency type and data type, it isn't recognized properly with those columns. And we will start with importing data from sales length CSV file, where we have fixed width of our files. And okay, it's black, but it doesn't really matter. And we have a short data, short file, and it's around 80 rows. But one important thing here is that I have at least 2 rows when we have stuck together revenue and costs. There is not additional space between them, and this situation makes Power Query a bit stupid, and they will not recognize revenue and costs as separate columns. So we will need to fix it when we will be importing data. And this, for this file, we don't have additional rows at the beginning, but we'll be adding some rows later to check the situation, what we can do to remove those unnecessary rows before our main header. So now in the first row, we have our main header. So let's close this file, and we need to remember the path to those files. And I will start with my empty XLS file, and let's make it on the new worksheet. On the data tab, get data, because this is from CSV files, so we don't need to get data. We just can press from text CSV. Okay, and do I see more about chat? Okay, and because I tested this before, so I already have a proper path to the folder, and I have my CSV file, so I can just import it. And we have our navigator window, and Power Query is quite smart and determined that our delimiter is fixed width, not column, not comma or custom. It's fixed width. It means we will get a new column at the point of 0 signs from the start, 10, side 20, and 32. And I said before, because we have 2 values stacked together, Power Query didn't recognize that revenue and costs are separate columns. And we need to remember that we need to always start from 0. And because Power Query starts counting from 0, so this 0 is our first line for a new column. Then we have 10. So from the beginning, we count 10 signs, and this is our new column, next column. Then let's go with green, 20. So then this time 20 signs from the start, always 20 from the start, always from the start, from the 0 position, not the range between blue and green, my example, always from the start. And 32 will be, I have also a pink one, so I can this time it will be 32 from the start. And we need to add one more, so comma, and I like to add so space, and I think it's 42, but maybe I forgot. Yeah, it's 42, and we can see that when I get back, please don't press enter, because when you press enter, this will be just load our information. So we don't want this. So when I'm adding, so now we can see the pounds here and here, but when I add this last column separator, so 42, and I just click in the other drop-down list or on the main screen, we can see 5 columns right now. And because regional settings are for England, for London, we now see no pounds, but those columns, revenue and cost, will be recognized as currency type. So this is good for us. And a few times Power Query didn't recognize headers in this example for me. At this time it's recognized, but in this example, it's better that Power Query won't recognize first row as headers, and I in a few minutes say why. So we can see our data now is correct, separate to other columns, so we can transform. We almost never load those data, our data on, so we almost never press load button because it's just as it is, load our data to Excel. We in most cases want to transform data before that. And okay, one moment, and we can see our data. Let's make a bit larger font to use the tab. Yeah, when we click change, press tab, it will also change the focus field or a screen on part of the screen. Always transform, yeah, disagreeing with me, always transform data, because we need to check if or at least data types are correct. And it looks that our data types are correct. So we have first date should be correct for United Kingdom dates, merchant product, so just text, we can see ABC, and revenue cost, the currency type. But we have to remember that currency type in Power Query isn't connected to currency, it's just precision, 4 digits and decimal places. And to the decimal number, I think it's 15. I still have some not correctly neurons, because I don't sure if it's 12 digits or 15 digits precision for the decimal number, but in this example it doesn't really matter. We have just 2 decimal places, so currency type is correct. But in this example, and we should have default step change types, and in the step type change type step, we can see formula bar. Okay, and if you don't see formula bar, you should go to view tab and check this checkbox formula bar. So the most important thing is to check this if you don't see formula bar in Power Query, because then you can see the formula for the active step. And I, in most cases, also work with parameters and always allow parameters in our data, and other things from here, it's not as important. But we need to check this. So if we can see formula bar and we have selected change type step, we can see our date column, and we can see how many spaces are in here. And that's because in fixed length files, here mostly in CSV file, text file, we have a space as a filler to the next column, and because of that we have wrong data, and this wrong data is automatically fixed for revenue, cost, and date columns. So when I select this first number, revenue, and I can select this here, the small number here, we can see just 300. So it's correct value, and it's with dates, it's also correct. It's just changed from the format from the CSV file. But in case of merchant and product, where we have just text, when we select one of the column as one of the cell and double click here underneath our data, we can see this text, this merchant have also many spaces after it. So those spaces aren't needed, and especially spaces in headers, column names aren't needed. So we need to fix this. So we need to delete change type step, and we also need to delete promote headers step, because we need first remove unnecessary spaces. If we are sure that just two columns could have spaces, we could select only those two. But we have to remember that in the first row, we have the columns names, and they are text, so they have additional unnecessary space. So we can press Ctrl A to select all columns and then go to Transform tab, and it was in a format command. So we need to expand this and choose trim option to remove unnecessary spaces from the beginning and the end of the text. In our example, it's always at the beginning, at the end of the text. So just trim our values, and I can, for example, select product, and now we don't have additional spaces after the text, after the letters. So now we can use first row as headers, and I remember okay, on the transform tab is use first rows as headers, but in most cases I'm using this drop down menu with table menu. I don't know how expensive it would be, but we think we need to remove them. At one, the thing we could change would be just removing unnecessary spaces for data with text column. But in other examples, we could just then change the column names to be more precise, to don't use unnecessary things. But I didn't test for big data how long it takes to remove unnecessary spaces, so I can't answer this question precisely. I don't think we need the proper information. We could work with information with spaces, product names, but I think some cases maybe cause some errors. So I would prefer to remove those spaces, but it always depends case by case. So you need to know your data, what is important for you. Are those spaces important or not? Can you live with them, or would you prefer to remove them? In this example, it's small data sets, and I prefer to have just product names, just merchant names, not I don't want unnecessary spaces. So in this example, and I can now expand this table drop-down menu and use first rows as headers. And the change type step should be added automatically. If it wasn't added, so if the Power Query didn't recognize data types for you automatically, we can select all columns, and on the Transform tab, we have somewhere, oh yes, here, detect data types. So Transform tab, and we can choose manually this detect type. This step is somewhere in Power Query options on File, options and settings, query options, and somewhere here it should be, but I'm not sure. Columns types on the first one. So data load, data type detection, and detect columns type and headers. And it should be this one. And then this step should be added automatically. But if it wasn't, in most cases, it's helpful. Yeah, David, yeah, I'm agreeing with David that carrying additional signs characters will also make our data larger, and it have some cost with our speed of our transformations. Okay, and for now, this is all transformation we want to do on this data set, so we can load it to Excel. And I prefer to expand close and load option and choose close and load too, because then I will always selecting where I want to load my data. And in this example, I want to put them as a table. And because I already created an empty worksheet, I will just use existing worksheet. A1 cell is okay. So I press OK, and we can see other options, and most of you should know them. And we just, in our example, we need to load this as a table. And one think about the data types. Dates are correspond someone have problems with in USA. If you change regional settings for as I said before, so if you change your file data, get data, query option, you can change regional settings from current workbook. And this workbook is United Kingdom. And then we will work with some examples, some columns we will need to change data type regional settings. Yeah. Okay, so let's continue with this example. I just need to open this CSV file, and I will just some additional rows and Control S to save this file. And we have rows with some additional information that's is useless for us, so we need to remove them. And when I go back to my Excel file and I will refresh my query, we will get errors because there is no date column in our table. So we need to check our query, and it should be so. If you it should be visible on the right side. But if you don't see this query connections on the data tab, query and connections command, just click it and you should see it. And one more thing, you always should see if you are in cell in the query, or in most cases the table, that's also query. You should see table design and query tab, and you can go here, query edit, or double click on the right side. Yeah. Okay, and we are so we get back to our data, and we have some red stripes here. But first of all, we have to, on the home tab, refresh preview. And now we can see in our last step, we have an error. And here we should see, okay, this is last step, so we don't see. If the error is in the last step, we won't see any additional buttons here. It should be somewhere in here. Button to go the first step with an error. So in our first step now in source file, we have those additional rows, those additional information. We have a trim text and promote headers, and now we are promoting the first row, so some and many null values. So we have different and not common column names, and because of that, Power Query can't change data type for date column because date column doesn't exist. So we need to fix it, and because change type and promote headers steps are quite easy. Let's remove them. Just click red X, and we can find a way to remove those unnecessary rows. If we are lazy and we know our data, we can just filter blanks, unfilter blanks columns, and we will get our data. But we need to be sure that in this example, column 2, there aren't any additional empty cells here. If there are, we are in trouble because we will remove our data. So let's try different method where we know that only date value is in the column 1, first column, and we want to find the position of the date column. So to find the position, we need to add index column. So let's go to add column tab, and here we can find index column, and we need to start from 0 because I already said that Power Query starts counting from 0, and we want to count the numbers rows we need to remove. And in our 5th row with date value, text, we have a 4. So the information we need to remove 4 rows. And based on that, we can find this value, and we can do it with adding one more column, conditional column. And this example, how can we work with our data? So conditional column, and we have it can be called custom because we will be removing shortly. So we want to check if column, first column, is equal to text date. And then if it is, we want a value from column. So we have to change from enter a value to select column, and it's index column. And if it's other value, not a date, we want to return, so else null, just write value null as a text, and we can press OK here. And we will have many cells with no values and 1, 4. And before I extract this 4 from this column, we can add a step. So on the Home tab, there is a step remove rows, and we can remove rows from the top or from the bottom, or even alternative rows and duplicate rows, blank rows, errors. But in this example, we want to remove top rows. And when I write here, for example, 2, so this step is only temporary to show us the function that Power Query used to remove top rows. So I can press OK, and I can see in formula bar table skip added conditional column 2. So we are just skipping to first row from table. That is our previous step. And I can copy this formula, and I have already opened the notepad, so I can copy this formula to notepad. But it's a simple formula, table skip, so it will be easy to remember this, to write this. So this step, we can remove them, and I need to extract 4 from the custom column. And the easiest way, not necessarily the fastest way with calculation, is from transform tab, and is statistics, and I can choose some minimum, maximum. Let's choose minimum value, and we will get step that returns only one single value, and its value is 4. And our column and our steps is called calculate minimum. So let's change it. We can change it by selecting it, and for me it's always shortcut, so F2, and I will call it rows And okay, rows number and number. Let's call it like this. And this is number of rows to remove. And I'm not using spaces in this name, because when we have spaces in steps name, we have this harder to understand reference to step names. So we have hashtag and in double quotes step name. And when we will have just step name as a one long word, it will be a bit shorter. You don't need this, especially this hashtag. Okay, so I need right now to get back to our data with basic information, and it's in our example it's trimmed text, and we can see this is reference to this step. So I need to go to my last step and press here this FX button. So it's add step, and we are adding next step that is as the default just reference to the previous step, and this previous step is rows number. And you can see when we expand queries that our query returns whole numbers, just like columns. In most cases, it returns table, and we will get this table icon in a few moments. We need to use this rows number in our table dot skip. But I need to remember to put proper case letters. So table skip, and the first our reference is to the table will be skipping number of rows, and now it's unfortunately don't want to give me any suggestions. So the first argument of table skip formula, now it's giving me suggestions, is a table, and our table is just a reference to a step name, because we have space in step name, we have to start with hashtag and trim text. And I think in the newest versions of Power Query, when we start typing, step names should get the reference, so that just tap and would put this name here. But in previous versions we need to tap it, write it manually. So write a reference to the table, and in rows number step we have numbers of rows to skip, and I can close my function and press enter. Yeah, it works, and we remove 4 rows from the top, and now we can get back to use first rows as headers and change type, which should be automatically, and we can just close and load our data. And before that, now we can see our query returns table. So close and load to, and we'll just get back to Excel, and we have all options information here. And Control S, I will save my Excel file, and I get back to my CSV file, and I can come to maybe another time I will try it. Yeah, date, and I can delete steps. Control S. This time I don't have any rows, unnecessary rows at the start of my CSV file. Control S, close this, and once again refresh our query, and it's worth collecting because Power Query can remove 0 rows from the top, and it isn't a problem for him. So even if we don't have additional information could work with this. Okay, so for this example, it's all I have prepared for now, and we can go. Okay. And it's all, yeah, it's the most important thing that we will try to fix our data, clean our data in the ways we know. And almost every day, or at least every week, I've learned something new about Excel or Power Query, and some experts find a better way for things I'm in the ways I'm cleaning my data right now, and we'll try to check this info from Paul, but after today's meeting. Yeah, okay. Okay, so now we would want to import information from PDF file. So if you have on the data tab, get data from file, you have PDF file here. You can work step by step with me from the beginning. If you don't have this from PDF file, we have this table. So just from table range, import this table to Power Query. But if you have PDF, so get data from file, from PDF, and it should remember the previous path from a CSV file. So just want to select crypto archive, the first one from March, not April, but from March. So double click it and we can import this. And the PDF 5 is a more advanced, let's say it, let's go, I will call it like this, data source, because it's not one text file, text information, but it's have some objects, and those objects in a PDF are tables and pages. And pages here have icons like worksheets, and tables are just tables icons. And we can see table 001, and we have our information here. It's all information we need. We have table 002, but it don't have any interesting information. And on page 001, it should be exactly the same information like in table 001. But in the case I can choose between the data source that is definitely a table and the data source that probably will recognize first row as a header, I will choose table. So in our example, we just need to select first table. And if we want to load more information from more tables, more pages, we need to select the whole folder. And you can see, yeah, in this folder we have 5 objects, and then we can filter based on those objects. But in this example, we just select one object and work with that. So we'll go to transform data. And okay, I need to refresh this. And I have some information here. And in this information, okay, let me make it from bigger, larger. And first of all, I click something. No, okay. Okay, I went back to editor. So okay, I want to fix the name column, because when I was importing information from this page, somewhere in those PDFs, is this page from where those data come from, the symbol column doubled and stuck, so was added as a prefix to a name column, and I need to remove those symbols from name column. And the way I need know it's for me it's quite easy. I need to remove. I want to extract text after the delimiter, and this delimiter will be symbol. And because I have many columns here that I don't want to work with right now, I would delete them as a temporary step. And one more thing, we should probably delete change type step, because in most cases it's recognize our data as text, and in the case where it recognizes values as percentages, it didn't recognize them properly because those percentages are written like in Poland. So this comma is decimal separator, not 1,000 separators like in, for example, volume column. So this comma is as 1,000 separator, and dot is decimal separator, so proper for England, but those three columns are the ones with errors. So the different regional settings, different format for numbers. So let's change type, delete them, delete this step, and I want also delete all columns just to work, so make my work easier. So just like in Excel, select first column, hold Shift, select last column, delete, and I have now only 3 columns, and I have this remove columns step. It's just temporary step. I can, thanks to that, I can just focus on name and symbol column, and I will add column. I would add column, so add column tab, and I need to extract text after delimiter. So I'm choosing the command from the user interface. If you are more advanced Power Query user, you probably could write this formula yourself in a formula bar, but in my case, I'm using quite often user interface to make my job faster, easier. So I will get text after delimiter window. I need to write here text because I can't put here a reference to columns. So I will write BTC as a Bitcoin symbol and press OK. And because only BTC exists in the first row, first name, I will get only Bitcoin extract properly. Other names won't be extracted properly because it always refers BTC. And we can see this in a formula bar. But when we can see formula bar, it means also we can modify this formula. And instead of this text, and it's easy in new versions of Power Query because this text, this code is color coded. So we can easily find text, and we need to put in the place of the text the reference to a column. So square brackets, and it should be symbol column. And just by this small change, we have proper names for all our data. And let's also change in the column formula bar column name from text after delimiter on the, for example, names. So it will have different name than the name column. And I can now delete name column and leave this names column. So let's delete this. And I can also now, when I have clear names and symbols, I can get back to removed column step and I can remove this step. Yes, I want to delete this step. This was simple step. I could add it, so I was smaller number of columns. So now when I'm delete this step and the last step, I will get them back. And because of the order of the columns at the beginning, my column names, the column names is at the end, and I would prefer it to be at the beginning, somewhere near the symbol column. So we can just hold the left mouse button and drag it, so Power Query would add the step to reorder columns, and this step is only for humans, how data is organized. Clear. Okay, and now we can clear our numbers. First of all, let's try with dollars, because we have dollar signs. When we try to change market cap to a currency, we will get errors. And choose the to beginning. Yeah, it will be should be faster, but it also I would need to track it a bit to the right then. But yeah, okay. Dragging for the hold, yeah. Depending on okay, yes. The front, if we need to be at the as a first column, but I am looking to, yeah, it's quite okay. No, okay, it's probably better option than my dragging, but in most cases I want to just move a bit to the right of the left, and dragging is faster, more precise. Okay, and I'll go with currency type. So we have errors because Power Query didn't recognize dollars properly here. If we will have if instead of dollars there would be pound signs, it should recognize them properly, as we could see in our previous example. So I can change this data type like this, but I can't select 3 columns with numbers and dollars, and we can just on the transform tab replace values. So we want to replace dollar sign with nothing, so we leave this field empty. Just press OK, and now after replacing values, I could properly change this to currencies, and I see nice numbers. But we have to remember that currency is data type with 4 digits precision. So in case of prices and cryptocurrencies, are sometimes prices that are less than 4 digit precisions. For example, it's Shiba Inu. It's cheaper than 1 cent of the 1 cent. So here we have to remember, still know your data. We can't use here market cap like in market cap currency type. We need to use decimal number if we want to work with numbers and make additional change here. And we can see here the value as a scientific formatting. I'm not sure how it was called in English, but this format with E and minus 0.5, so it's a really small number. We should remember about this. And we could fix some other numbers like this, but it's one thing I sometimes like to use currency type, because currency type is formatted in Power Query with 1,000 separators. So those separators is just formatting. It doesn't influence data type calculations. It's just formatting. But when I use decimal numbers, we won't get such nice values. Data separators, 1,000 separators, and the small number will be just a small number with E, values of 10 to minus 5. So really small number. And let's think. Okay, let me think. So in this same order, we can and this. Okay, I can. And when I'm not sure what data type used, I can always go on the transform tab and detect data type. Choose this command. I'm selecting just one column. I can click this, and Power Query would be nice for me, or should just recognize, yeah, data changed. I've pressed the wrong button. Okay, and detect data type. Yeah. Okay. No. Somehow I press reverse rows command. Okay, so does recognize the column type, and because I already changed data type for 2 previous columns, I have Power Query still works with the same step. We can see as a last part of this volume, column, and type number. We can see these values. Okay, and we need and we want to work also with the last percentages values to fix them. And I just said before, those are Polish formatted numbers. So we first of all, we need to remove unnecessary signs, and in our example, it's a smaller than sign. So we need to select those columns, transform, tab, replace values, and just like with dollars, we are writing smaller than sign in the value to find field, but the replace with field we are leaving empty, and just press OK. So we don't have this unnecessary signs in our data, and can now fix our values, but I don't know any other place to find for local columns. I don't know how to select all values and choose local transformations, because on the home tab I don't see here local. So I need to select one column, click the icon from the data type, and we can see here use local. And we are using data type for percentages, and we won't use English United Kingdom, but we will use Polish. So in most cases, in such a long list, when we press write fast enough values, we should go to the elements that starts from. So I will write quickly Polish, just Pol. So I have Polish, Poland, and I can check here. Okay, so we can see our percentages have comma as a decimal separator and space as a 1,000 separator. So I can press OK here, and I can see percentage type, but with Polish regional settings, local settings. And I can go with next column, once again, ABC, use local. And when I learned how to do it, so percentage Polish, and it's quite fast, just press OK. But Power Query would add change type with local and change type with local 1. So we here will add additional step to change data type, but when we changed data types, normal data types, so from our region, it will stack them, group them in one step. And we can also do this for Power Query by ourselves. We can see this is the part that recognizes percentage type, assigns percentage type to 24 hours column. And we can copy this part, this list, and add this in previous steps. So I need to add comma and put our new list. So we can see curly brackets is lists of lists, and we have our first list for 1 hour column, and then it's red, so let's make it pink because text is red, and 24 hours is our second list. And when I press enter, yeah, it should be work. If don't enter isn't working, we can always select this check mark, and the formula will be assigned to this step. So in one step with the same local settings, I fix 2 columns. So based on that, I can copy this part, and I want to change 7 days. Column also. So now I have text, enter. Now I have a percentages, and I don't need this last step because all those steps are written in my last step. And I think it's enough steps, enough changes for this file. And let's try to create based on this query a function that will import information from the path. So in our source step, we can see yes, I can see my path. Let's make it green. So on the C drive, this text URL is my path, and I could I need to copy it to be, so I will have some less problems. I don't need to write this. I will copy it to be safe in my notepad, but it should just copy this work, especially because I want to change this hard-coded static reference to a parameter. So in source step and in many other steps in this example, we can see gear icon near step names. And when we click those icons, we will get to a user interface, the window that corresponds to this step. So we, in our sales step, we can see PDF window. Basic is enough. We have file path, and it's this path, and we can just copy this. We don't really need, I just precautions to copy this to the notepad, and I'm importing PDF file. I'm changing the text to parameter, but I don't have parameters right now, so I have to create a new one. So just create new one, and I will call this parameter path. Yeah, I forgot about A, and I don't need description for this, and it can be required, but I would change type from any to just text, and I will use any value. I don't have list of values, and I don't have query that returns those values. And as the current value, I will just Control V, paste the copied previous path to this file, and press OK. And we have a small change. If in our PDF window, we can see now we choose parameters, and we have only one parameter, and we should see him on the left side and the queries tab if it's expanded. And we can just press OK. And if let's go to the last step. Let's remember this price for Bitcoin 82,334, and I can change my path, so my parameter. I remember my file names. So the next one was from 6th of the April, and now I go here. I should have different price for Bitcoin, but just by changing path, I change my result. And when I'm changing those results, I should also remember to change query name, because when I'm importing data from files, PDF files, other sources, Power Query will give me default names, most cases based on file name or table name. So the table name for PDFs are terrible. So let's just make it something crypto archives is enough. And some other name that means something, not the table 001, and it's enough. And when we parameterize our query, we can change the query to function. So we need to expand our queries, please. And now I can right click my query name with a parameter, and I can create function based on this query. And just need to add names. So let's call it path PDF, and I can press OK. And now I have a function path PDF, and basically this function, it's our query, but in the form of the function based on parameters. So it only have one argument, our path we can add here. And we want to import more information from our PDF files. So we have 3 PDF files, so we want to import them. So first of all, we need to save our data. So home and close and load to. And because, thank you, I learned something new today. I need something to check after this webinar, and I'm glad that some of you also learned something new. And I have to close and load to my information, and because I have only one table and path, so parameter and function, only the table query will be imported to Excel. So table, and make it on the new worksheet and press OK. And I have result for this crypto archive page. And if I have copied this path, precise path, we need also the name of the file. I can copy this and change this for 0406 and Control D, and this 13, and I will call it paths and make this into a table. So it's just an example. How can we, it's so to be faster, I just write those PDFs paths manually because we have only 3 files. When we have more files, we just need to import from folder and filter by PDF extension. You remember information. And yeah, this table is called just table 4. It can be called that. The second, it's not so much. It isn't really important. So we can now import this Power Query, and we'll be using our function to extract information from those PDFs. So let's go to Data tab, and from Table Range to our main. Okay, so our Power Query editor, and we have our path PDF group, and because we create function based on parameterized query, all queries connected to that are in one group as a default, and we have table 4. We have only paths, and we want to use our create previously function path PDF. So on the add column tab, we are choosing invoke custom function, and here we can it can be called custom because we'll be expanding this column, and we just using path PDF. And yeah, so let's change this name to be different than the function query. And so I will stay with custom function query path PDF, and we are referencing column name, not text, column name, and we have only one column name here, so we can press OK. And we have tables. For each path, we have a full table, and we look at this table, we can see the results we get previously. So all okay, see you key. Okay, so we have our information, and before we'll be expanding our custom column to get all those columns, I will change my paths column to get dates, and this dates type isn't the default date type for England, but it should work. So I need to extract a number from underscore to the dot. Okay, I will watch out for so we need to select paths and go to transform tab, and I have to go to extract command and need to go to text between delimiters option, and I want to extract information from one underscore to dot, but we need to be precise here because we have two underscores, and we need to check at the advanced options to check properly from where is the starting point for the Power Query to start looking for those delimiters. And of course, we can't add more than one character as a delimiter. Okay, so underscore, it can be from a start, or it can start be looking. We can start looking from the end of our input from text. When we are starting from a start, I can, for example, skip one delimiter. So because we have two underscores, it will be the second underscore found. And then from the position of the first delimiter, we'll be watching for the end delimiter. So we are looking from the start delimiter, position of the start delimiter, towards the end of the input or towards the start of the input. And I need to go towards the end of the input. So it should be default options, and I don't need to skip any of them. And I can press OK. And I have numbers, just numbers written as a text. And when I change this data type from text to date. It should recognize proper dates. Even it was just a number, but it recognized it was as a year, a month, and date. So we have proper dates based on these numbers. Okay, and now I can expand all columns. I want all columns. I just don't want to use original columns name as prefix, and I can press OK. All information based on date from different files, different informations. I can have my values, but because we are expanding this here, all our data is basically as text. We already did some cleanup previously, and we can, for example, just click the text data types, but when with Power Query won't be precise, and it don't have, but we can just add the step and go to Home tab, close, and load to. And because there will be more rows than previously, so I will also note this on the new worksheet, and I can see more values, more information. I can add here from Excel side also proper formatting names. Do we have 10 minutes? I could add small information, small transformation about removing two last columns. I have also prepared this. Sure. Okay. So this will be just a short information, and we will be just using the sales length query, because in this query, it's okay, double click. One time, if the difference between PDFs have spoken that we can extract from a whole folder, and then you should filter from the table perspective on page perspective, depending on the value of information you have. I don't know if there won't be information. I don't see. So if you choose to extract the whole PDF information, you in and query step, you will get a table like this, in sort table in the first source step, because we choose to one precise table. Power Query add navigation step that extract information from, in our example, this table. But you can just first, for example, pages, and you have only pages, and then expand this whole information. But if those tables have different headers, it's whole different story, and depending what exactly your data looks like. And I will just close this file. So based on that, you could extract one times it will be one file, one page. Sometimes it will be more pages, but Power Query should also work with them if they have the same first columns headers. It should work. And I will get back to sales length, and here with the first step, need to make it larger. We have create 5 columns, but to be more precise, Power Query create 5 columns, and I could manually change this value, for example, to 7, and I will get 7 columns just like that. And in our example, those columns are called column 6, column 7. It doesn't really matter what they are called, and to be more precise, it's matter that there are the two last columns, let's say 2, and we want to remove, but we don't know their names. So in the last step, because there are some additional changes, especially where it's promote header step. So in previous step, we'll have column 6, column 7, but we have here no values. So when we promote headers, Power Query change those column names to some different, some strange numbers, and we want to remove those columns. We don't know how they will be called, but we know there are always 2 additional columns we don't need, and we can add here a step that use table dot column, but I mess up some column names. Okay, it's proper name, and I need to refer a table. So in most cases in Power Query, it means to refer a step, and I can go to change type step, and okay, if will I get a change type? Yeah, it will be previous step, and I will get the list of whole all column names. And I want to the last 2 column names. So I want to keep items, bottom items, and I just can write 2 here, and they will get, we can see a list, last, and custom to 2. And so I want to so list, last, and I can add this function my previous step custom. So I will remove this last one. I will add here list last steps, and I don't know, that was 2 steps, and in 1 step I will just get this list, and I need to remove columns. So I will this list, I need to remove columns. So I will copy this formula to be sure I won't lost it. I will paste it into my notepad, and I can remove this step, and I can right now just manually delete 1 column, and we can see we have table remove columns from the previous step, previous table, and it's only 1 column as a list. So curly brackets, Power Query means list, and we can't, in the place of this list, Control V, my copied formula, but I can't add spaces between function names, and it should be working right now. Yeah, so I removed 2 last columns thanks to this formula, and let's just change. So I will change blah 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 here. I will add just 1 step with changing names, and the name, yeah, insert here. Okay, so now I have different last names for 2 last columns, but this remove columns step is always removing 2 last columns. Okay, and this is all folks, so just close and load my file, and this additional columns was just fake. Okay, because I don't remember proper words in English, let's call them fake. I was adding in there weren't actual columns in Power Query and CSV file. This was added manually, and but in this code we can see now when they was removed. Okay, and that's all I prepared for this today.
Cheers, Adam.
So just as a reminder, Alan was writing about about voting for the favorite big Power Query feature, and I just can I have here in my notepad the link. It should be this one, so I would just
on it, mate.
right. This is for the page. Oh, I don't know it's properly when I click it. Yeah, for EPUB version, ebook version, not paperback. When we go, I have this in the chart, and when we go to checkout, because only at the checkout you can see discount field, when we write learn PQ, it will be 10% discount. You get 10% discount. I don't know about discount on the Amazon, so I don't know how to create from my point of view this one. And if you want some other information or discussion about cleaning data, if you need someone to clean your data, I can also help with that. Can I put my email on the
Sure,
chat?
you can do what you want, mate.
Okay, thanks. Okay.
If you will be so bold. Get everyone asking you for help now.
Yeah, maybe.
I hear David's got a really messy data.
Oh, yeah, really messy. That is the pain in the
I don't want to inflict that on Adam. I'd like to be friends with Adam at the moment. So
Okay, now so from my end, this all. Just need.
Okay. Super. Thanks, people, for comments in the chat. Thank you, Adam, for your time today and for your expertise. Lots of nice, tasty tips in there, which I think a lot of people appreciated. And for people like myself, I always like seeing the demonstrations that people do and how they include them.
Yeah.
And removing the top rows is actually something that I had today in my session. The flexible top row things when that came up. So,
Depending what's your data, it can be some simpler solutions. I need to check the solution from Paul. I think Paul will write this. I copied
yes.
the
Oh, yeah.
information. Yeah, so I need to check this. As will if this work nicer or easier or something like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and we're all finding this stuff out all the time, which is what makes it so exciting, doesn't it? That's why we do things like this. Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to close down the YouTube stream, team. And then, yeah, if anybody's got any questions, anybody wants to say hello, talk to Adam, anything like this, we can do. Just want to close down the YouTube first, keep that clean. So that is done. YouTube's over. Leaves us with just us in here.